He's the first love of my life. A poet, a composer, a novelist, a playwright, an essayist, a philosopher, a painter, an educationist, a social reformer, a patriot, and a traveler, all bundled into one. The bearded man with flowing robes who is the pride of every Bengali heart, and who my cousins refer to as my boyfriend. I have him on saris, on dresses, on lampshades, and of course I have his entire collection. His birth anniversary on the Bengali date, Pochishe Boishakh, which follows on either the 8th or 9th of May, is a proper huge event in Bengal. I usually listen to his songs or read his poems on this day, but this year I decided to retrace his footsteps in my now hometown. Rabindranath Tagore, rather Rabindranath Tagore to us Bengalis, had a close relationship with London. In fact, one of his most notable achievements is connected to this city. Follow me, the Bibi, as I find the Bard or Kobi in London. I must mention here that whilst I can compromise on Tagore, I'm a Bengali who needs her O, so it will always be Rabindranath for me. Rabindranath was born to a distinguished family of North Calcutta, a family of talented and liberal men and women who had significant contribution to Bengal Renaissance. The fortune of their family was a result of the entrepreneurial ventures of his grandfather, Dwarkanath Tagore, popularly known as the Prince because of his lavish lifestyle. He was friends with the British royalty as well as the upper class of Europe and died in a central London elite hotel 15 years before Rabindranath was born. After a princely send-off, he was laid to rest in Kensal Green Cemetery in northwest London. In 1878, when Tagore was only 17 years old, he was shipped off to England to study law. He set sail from the Western Indian port of Pune and spent the first 6 days of his travel confined to his cabin, suffering from severe seasickness. He couldn't keep anything down, and the ship's steward was concerned that this young boy would soon become as weak as a rat, which apparently he did. After a long and arduous journey, he finally reached the English port of Southampton and made his way to London. He only spent about 2 or 3 hours in the capital before taking a train to Brighton to join his elder brother and his family. It was a cold, drizzly, dark day in London, which by the way almost never happens here, and Tagore felt no love for it. His friends, however, reassured him. London is not a place for love at first sight, they said. Spend a few days here and then you will understand the charm. Tagore was very happy in Brighton. He had his young niece and nephew for company. He was enrolled at a school and even made new friends. The joy, however, did not last long. Mr. Palith, his elder brother's boyhood friend, soon made arrangements for him to live in London. His first accommodation was in a house overlooking the Regent's Park. Whilst I will consider myself very fortunate to be able to live in this part of the city, Tagore wasn't as impressed. He did leave India though in September, and it was winter by the time he arrived in London. In his autobiography, My Reminiscences, translated brilliantly by his nephew from Brighton, Surendranath, Tagore writes, "For the newly arrived stranger, there can hardly be a more cruel place than London in winter. I knew no one nearby, nor could I find my way about. The days of sitting alone at a window, gazing at the outside world, came back into my life. But the scene in this case was not attractive. There was a frown on its countenance, the sky turbid, the light lacking luster like a dead man's eye. The horizon shrunk upon itself, with never an inviting smile from a broad, hospitable world. The room was but scantily furnished, but there happened to be a harmonium, which after the daylight came to its untimely end, I used to play upon according to my fancy. Sometimes Indians would come to see me, and though my acquaintance with them was but slight, when they rose to leave, I felt inclined to hold them back by their tailcoats. Tagore got enrolled at the University College of London and even made a best friend, Loken Palit, who was 4 years younger than him. Together they spent many merry afternoons in the college library under the reproachful blue eyes of their female classmates. He had quite an active social life in London, got along well with his landlords, well, most of them anyway. He, however, did not complete his education and left legal studies to return to India. Over the course of his life, Tagore visited England several times. The most notable one was, of course, in 1912. Shortly before his travel, he began to translate his devotional poems from the collection Gitanjali, or song offerings, into English. Interestingly, the day he arrived in London, he lost one of his precious manuscripts in the London Underground. Thankfully, it was recovered the next day from the lost and found office of Baker Street Station. In London, Tagore met the Jewish painter William Rothenstein, whom he had befriended the year before in Calcutta. Rothenstein himself lived in the very green and hilly Hampstead Heath in London and soon found a place for his painter friend to stay in the same locality. The friendship with Rothenstein opened many new doors for Tagore. He was no longer the homesick teenager from Bengal. He was now a force to be reckoned with in the world of literature. Rothenstein was a staunch advocate of the bard from India, made several copies of the song offerings and distributed them to his friends in the literary and artistic circles of London. It was an instant hit, and among the new admirers of Gitanjali and Tagore was none other than the Irish poet W.B. Yeats. In 1912, the India Society of London published 750 copies of the book The Song Offerings. In his official introduction, Yeats writes, "I have carried the manuscript of these translations about with me for days, reading it in railway trains or on the tops of omnibuses and in restaurants, and I have often had to close it lest some stranger would see how much it moved me." The book was a huge success, and in 1913, Rabindranath Tagore from India was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature for his book, The Song Offerings, the first non-white, non-European Nobel Prize winner in any category. History was indeed made. The Gitanjali is undoubtedly one of Tagore's finest creations. The theme is spiritual but not religious, where utter and complete devotion is offered to a higher authority, a superior being who is nameless and formless. It can be any god from any religion or even one's friend or lover. As I walked down the lush woodland of Hampstead Heath, I wondered if living here made Tagore change his opinion of the city I've made my home. Stroll in the Kensington Gardens, riverside walk in Hammersmith, watching theatres in Savoy. He did it all. And maybe, just maybe, the song Ami Chini Go Chini Tomare Ogo Bideshini was a musical homage to my beautiful London. Among the many London addresses for Tagore that I found during my research, one was 37 Alfred Place West in South Kensington. The street has now been renamed as Thurlow Street, and I'm not sure which house is the lucky one. This square is just opposite the beautiful and imposing Victoria and Albert Museum, one of my favorite museums, and where an exhibition of Tagore paintings was held for the first time outside India to mark 150 years of the poet.
श्रावण गगने घोर घन घटा निशीथ यामिनी रे श्रावण गगने घोर घन घटा कुंज पथे सखी कैसे जावब अबला कामिनी रे श्रावण गगने घोर घन घटा निशीथ यामिनी रे श्रावण गगने घोर घन घटा.
What makes Rabindranath so special? Why did I brave inclement weather for him? Yes, he was undoubtedly a genius, and perhaps has written more words than anybody else on earth. To millions of Bengalis like me though, he is not just a literary figure. He is a friend of our souls. What I find most amazing about Tagore is his deep understanding of human psychology. There is not a single emotion, a single thought, a single sentiment I can think of which has not been described by him. Somewhere in one of the many volumes of his work that find its place of glory in my bookshelf, I can find my darkest fears, my happiest thoughts. For example, right on top of my head, I can think of his works describing subjects as varied as the ongoing general election in India, my feelings for my dogs, or even the fact that it is really a cold rainy day and I think I'll settle down for a peg of whiskey after this. Don't believe me? Well, there is indeed a Tagore song whose line goes as Obhoy dao to boli amar whiskey, ektu chotak sodar jole, 3 poa whiskey, which means if you give me courage, I'll tell you what my wish is. Just a tad bit of soda in 3 pegs of whiskey. Maybe I'll skip the soda part, but you get what I mean. The Tagore bust in Gordon Square in central London was unveiled by Prince Charles in 2011 to celebrate 150 years of the poet. Standing here, a proud Bengali and an Indian, I try to figure out what Rabindranath Tagore means to me. Of course, I'm at a loss for words, and I turn to the first love of my life and his famed Gitanjali. Kego ontoro toroshe, amar chetona, amar bedona, tarishu gobhir poroshe. আখিতে আমার বুড়ায় মন্ত্র, বাজায় হৃদয় বিনার তন্ত্র, কত আনন্দে জাগায় ছন্দ, কত সুখে দুঃখে হরষে। সোনালি রূপালি সবুজে শুনিলে, সে এমন মায়া কেমনে গাঁথিলে, তারি সে আড়ালে চরণ বাড়ালে, ডুবালে সে সুধা সরসে। কতদিন আসে কত যুগ যায়, গোপনে গোপনে পরাণ ভুলায়, নানা পরিচয় নানা নাম লয়, নীতি নীতি রসবরসে।
মনে রেখো ও তবু মনে রেখো, যদি দূরে যাই চলে তবু মনে রেখো, যদি পুরাতন প্রেম ঢাকা পড়ে যায়, নব প্রেম জালে মনে রেখো ও তবু মনে রেখো, যদি থাকি কাছাকাছি দেখিতে না পাও ছায়ার মতো আছি না আছি মনে রেখো ও তবু মনে রেখো যদি জল আসে আখি পাতে যদি জল আসে আখি পাতে একদিন যদি খেলা থেমে যায় মধুরাতে তবু মনে রেখো একদিন যদি বাধা পড়ে কাজে শারদ প্রাতে মনে রেখো যদি পড়িয়া মনে ছলো ছলো জল নাই দেখা দেয় নয়ন কোণে তবু মনে রেখো